How you doing, YouTube? Matt Nassa Beer Reviews. Back with a beer. I don't know what to tell you. If this beer sucks, I'm going to be highly disappointed because there's a lot of moving parts in this one. We're going to get to all of it. That be Hop Butcher and Smashing Pumpkins. That's right, the band Smashing Pumpkins. It's a beer called Soulhead. This is a Strata Hopped India Pale Ale. 6.5% alcohol by volume. This is packaged 4 days ago. And this comes courtesy of Hop Butcher. That's pretty much all the Hop Butchers I get. I'm wearing a Smashing Pumpkin shirt. I'm that guy that's wearing the shirt to the concert. But at the same time, I'm also proper glass wearing it. So a lot of different things going on here. So Jeremiah texted me a couple weeks ago being like, shh. And he kind of dropped this label on me. I was like, are you serious? Is this actually a thing? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, we're doing a beer with Smashing Pumpkins. And if you want to go read it, there's this, Josh Noel has a Chicago Tribune article on it that explains it way better than I could. But the gist of it is that they, Hop Butcher is known to send off boxes of beer. They send them to me. They send them a bunch of beer tubers. But they send them to other people, too. And he sent one to Billy Corgan's wife's, and his wife. They run like a tea house in Chicago. I apologize for forgetting her name. And they sent a box there, and they eventually opened it, and they're like, this is really cool. We really enjoy the beers. Actually, it was funny because she opened it. She didn't know what it was, and people that worked there knew. And they were like, hey, that's a pretty good brewery. You should drink those beers. And they decided to do a collab together with the Tea House and Hop Butcher, which I think is like a fantastic idea. I've had a couple tea and beer-based collabs. Most recently was a tea collab between, I forget the name of the tea company, but it was also with Elementary Brewing in Hackensack, New Jersey. Anyway, so they're going to do a collab. Well, they eschewed that because I think it was too tight of a window to get this beer released. And the reason why they are releasing this beer is because it's the anniversary of GISH, album from the inaugural album from Smashing Pumpkins. I'm wearing a Smashing Pumpkins shirt. I actually literally bought this recently, but I used to own a bunch of Smashing Pumpkins shirts. GISH came out in 1991. I am 45. You do the math, so that's like a wheelhouse for me. I've seen them multiple times. So this kind of collaboration back and forth just really kind of works for me. Same thing with Jeremiah and the people from Hop Butcher. It's like, they're in my age bracket, my universe when it comes to, how old we are. So it kind of makes sense that we'd all kind of gush over this beer. And I'm just pumped that they got to do this. Soulhead is the name of the beer. Great art by Dan Jetsa, as typical of what he does. Soulhead is actually the name of Billy's head of his amp up there. A classic Marshall head. You see it there. Part number, or the model number of that one. But that's the name of the beer. And I'm just pumped to dive into it, man. Like I said, it's... like Smashing Pumpkins was like... I was never a big emo guy. Even though I dig on some emo bands like Elliott, stuff like that. But Smashing Pumpkins was kind of my version. I know you wouldn't classify them as an emo band or a rock band or a metal band. But they were kind of that band for me. Very emotional kind of stuff. Especially, I'm not going to sit here and say GISH is my favorite album all time from these guys. Siamese Dream is by far and away, I think, their best album, and that's the one that really resonates with me. But I dig GISH. I like the uniformity in the constant throughout the whole album. It kind of makes sense in that sense. I think actually, Infinite Sadness is probably the most technically kind of cool album. But as far as just viscerally my favorite ones, it's definitely going to be Siamese Dream. But yeah, beer. Let's talk about the beer. God damn. It's going to be a long one, so buckle in. So, like I said, label's awesome. Tasting notes on the back of this sucker, you have candied tropical dank greens and juicy passion fruit. Weed in the glass is what they're going for this one. At least that's what the article stated. What's a beer review without me spilling stuff? And, I mean, that looks like, all the bits of the super turbidity, that Hop Butcher's known for. 6.5%, so it's not a gigantic beer, but it's up there. As far as looks, as far as density goes, it's one of their bigger beers. Khaki-colored head, rich orange core to it. Yeah, we're off to a pretty good start. Let's get nose. I mean, it's all the parts of OJ for me, to be perfectly honest with you, at least on the nose. It's like, you know, that orange, tangerine kind of mixture there, kind of coming in. So a little bit of stone fruit, a decent amount, or when I say tangerine, nectarine, stone fruit kind of, orange kind of combination. They're talking about this beer being a weed bomb. I don't get a ton of that on the nose. It's dank greens, but it's really, and they even don't even call it orange on here, but that's really how it comes off for me on the nose. A lot of OJ kind of leaning vibes with that nice kind of stone fruit. There are more tropical passion fruit on this. But yeah, I mean, it smells fantastic. Doesn't smell like what the tasting notes smell like, because that doesn't make sense. It's tasting notes, not aromatic notes. But it smells like a rich, vibrant, hop butchery beer. There. We've adjectivized them in their own review. It's like when you do the script spelling bee, you're not allowed to use the word in, you know, use the word you're trying to spell in a sentence. I'm just doing that anyway. So, OJ, stone fruit. Let's dive in. Cheers. It's delicious. Like, very explosive. You know, it's 6.5%, but it drinks way closer to like 7.5%, 8%. I get what they're talking about passion fruit on this, because passion fruit for me is not necessarily like, it's not the taste of passion fruit that really kind of leads me into the passion fruit world. It's more of this almost like tartness, like acidic thing that really I connect with passion fruit, and I'm kind of getting it here. It's not a sour beer. It's not like a tart beer. There's something about the way the fruits kind of play off this, the way the hops come off in this beer, make me think about passion fruit. Sure, there is tropical fruit in this. It's a big bursting at the seams, multiple level beer. You're getting all kinds of fruit, from, you know, your tropical fruits to your stone fruits to your citrus, across the board, pineapple, you know, everything across the board is there. But the leading notes for me are still citrus. I'm getting a big orange component. I'm getting that kind of nectarine, kind of stone fruitiness, and then you get that nice kind of passion fruit, which is less passion fruit than actual passion fruit, but less acidic, I should say, more than actual less passion fruit. There is a weed component to this. There's a green weedy component that definitely comes in. That's your bittering portion of the show. That's your kind of big green snappiness to it. It's quite sharp, but it works well in the beer because of how explosive it is. And it's capped off by a creepily cool, soft mouthfeel that finishes quick. Almost thin. And I don't mean it as a negative. Because when you actually take a taste of the beer, you get this full, luscious, kind of soft kind of mouthfeel. Kind of what you expect from Hop Butcher, but when you go to swallow, it all kind of compresses down and just right down the gullet in a very, very fun way. Drinkable way. This is obviously not a session beer. But I could drink 2 or 3 of these in a row and not, I don't think, get like a hefty kind of palate fatigue going on this beer. But I think it's fantastic, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's really well done. I think how it's kind of constructed with that kind of faux passion fruit thing you're getting from the hops that really does come off as that without that over acidic portion of the show. It's not something I've tasted all that much. In IPAs alone, you get passion fruit a lot because they actually put passion fruit in it, but I don't think passion fruit's like really an overt flavor in a lot of hops. I know you can get subtle drips and drabs of it in beers, but to have it this prominent without that acidic portion of the show, I think is quite fun. That green, always fun. That weedy greeniness, always fun, kind of lingering on the palate. And I do appreciate that mouthfeel just not being super, ultra, super dense creamy. It has that quick finish to it, which I like. Listen. There's a reason why Hop Butcher, your beers are typically most often universally kind of dug on, especially that people like hazy IPAs. I think this is one of the cooler ones that they've done as of late, which kind of harkens me back to the reason why I fell in love with Hop Butcher in the first place, which is hop fuck duggery. You know what I mean? Them taking hops and twisting and tweaking them and directing them in a way that not a lot of people do. And that's the trick they pull. Very apt with the name they have with Hop Butcher, because they're kind of just caressing, massaging the hops in a direction not a lot of people do. Are the flavors that I'm getting from this unique in and of themselves across the board? No. But the combination and how they're working and how they're laid out and how they're, like I said, coerced into what they're expressing is fun. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've really enjoyed them over the years. They've gotten a little bit away from that. They become a little bit more kind of, I don't want to say mainstream, but started to get a little bit more just not. It's a combination of them going a little bit more towards what other people do and the other people figuring out that, hey, Hop Butcher does fun stuff. Let's lean in their direction. So you have not necessarily a bisection of people trying to do Hop Butcher and Hop Butcher trying to do other people's stuff, but a little bit of familiarity on both ends of the spectrum. This goes back to the roots. So it makes it almost like a kind of like very romantic kind of beer, because that's what GISH is too. You know, it's been so long since I've listened to that album, to be honest with you. If I'm going to hit any pumpkin stuff, it is almost exclusively going to be Siamese Dream, a little bit of Infinite Sadness in there, and I almost forget about GISH, you know? And then when I listen to it, I'm like, okay, that's the reason why I know them. That's the reason why I found them. And while I do dig their second foray, is my favorite, and maybe even their third foray might be a little bit better for me, there's a reason why I dug on them in the first place, and that's kind of what we're dealing with here with Hop Butcher. It's a little bit that old school hop fuckduggery that really got me kind of plucking at my heartstrings when it comes to Hop Butcher, and a kind of symbiotic, whatever the words you want to call it, very kind of in line with Smashing Pumpkins and GISH. So yeah, I think it's an appropriate beer to be done as a collaboration with these guys. Just really fun stuff, and just, I don't know, man, it's kind of crazy that like when my music world and my beer world collide. It's a very weird thing for me, you know. Like there's an old musical act that I really was a big fan of, you know, growing up. And when I started to do music myself, I did more like weird electronic stuff. And like the name of the group was Somatic Responses. They're out of England, and we brought them over here. And by we, me and my friends brought them over here in like the late 90s. And I was like, man, we dug our music, and we just kind of was like, we want to hear these guys play live. They came over, played live, blah, blah, blah. Now, one of the brothers, there's two brothers in the group. Now one of them's like a big beer person, and we go back and forth about beer. And it's so weird how that stuff ends up being cyclical, because, you know, art is fun, and good art is fun. And, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Next level art is even funner. And I think both of these guys have a similar kind of path as far as artistic expression and just good stuff. How about that? Lost for words. That be me. So there you go. Let's talk about it. It's one of the better IPAs I've had as of late. Yes. Is it Mount Rushmore sass? I'm going to say yes. Are we dealing with a little preconceived notion? A little bit of me being overtly romantic because it's a collab with Smashing Pumpkins? Probably. You know what? Don't care. It's up there. Value to availability, $16. I actually know the price. How about that? Because I've read a bunch of articles leading up to this. So it's $16 for a 4-pack, $30 if you buy two. That was how they were being sold, at least out of from the brewery or the tea house, I believe, which is honestly, I think is fantastic price point, especially for two. And leave you with, if you like what we like this beer, if you like really well done hazies, you like old school Hop Butcher, you like old school Smashing Pumpkins, you want all those worlds to collide, have at it. So there you go. Little review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massif. Podcasting stuff. We've interviewed Jeremiah and Jude from Hop Butcher before, so if you want to go check them out, please do. And it's back. We're posting episodes every week now. Last week was Neil Cade from Gilded Skull Brewing, home brewer turned pro brewer, and this week coming up, Peter from the Master Hop. He's going to be on. So yeah, this Wednesday. We'll see what's what. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of collab with music beer right now. Hopefully next time. Cheers.